back joining us after surgical procedure, and you will see him stand up to begin with, and then as he needs to do, and he won't be a distraction. We're just glad to have him back here. And at this time, I would like to ask Vice Chairman Conley to do an invocation for the board as we navigate our decisions and for the work of the people of Iredell County.
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight to ask guidance for our board and our county. Give us the guidance that we need to do the people's work. We have a lot to do and a lot to accomplish this coming year. We have a budget to approve and consider tonight. Let everything be your will. In that name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Manager Mull, do we have adjustments to our agenda this evening?
Yes, ma'am. We do have one adjustment, and that's the addition of, under administrative matters, item 8.8, and that is the approval of assignment and assumption agreement between Mooresville Hospital Management Associates, LLC, and Novant Health Lake Norman Medical Center, LLC.
Notice you have added that documentation to your packet as we go through the administrative matters. Do you have a motion to approve the adjusted agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous on the adjusted agenda. And that takes us right into one of my favorite parts of our meeting, when we have the opportunity to have presentations and recognitions done. And a couple of days ago, Diane reached out to me with Post 65 American Legion and was talking to me about Women's Veterans Recognition Day, and I wasn't even very familiar with that, and it gave us an opportunity to learn more about that, and it's in our history, it's in our local community, and it's an honor this evening. Diane, if you'll please step to the microphone for me and tell us a little bit more. Where did this come from with you as far as, I know you're involved. Tell us first your name and your title, please, with Post 65.
I am Diane Wilson, and I'm a member of Post 65, American Legion. We're the ones with the helicopter on Old Salisbury Road. I am also a district president of the American Legion Auxiliary of North Carolina.
And you're state level as well, is that correct?
Yes, I am a state level, but nothing on the local.
But it's a lot of involvement, I'll have to say on that one too. But at this time, before we go any further with questions or comments and things, I would like to recognize first our female veterans. We have some in the room. If you would please stand, our female veterans. Thank you all very much. And please remain standing, ladies, gentlemen that are veterans in the room, please stand. Thank y'all so much. And I appreciate that. So, Diane, though, tell us a little bit more. What have you learned? And y'all Post 65, if y'all are good, if you're comfortable, please continue to stand before I read the proclamation as well. But Diane, with this, what have you learned through the process when you were going through the education and learning about the women's recognition? Is there anything that stood out to you?
As a state district president, I am always doing research and sending out information to my units. And I came across this recognition of American veterans for women, to recognize them for their service. Mm-hmm. And so many other times, we only think of men being in the military, but our women are a big backbone of our military service.
Oh.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself because you do that well. But it was
and
also years ago, women were pretty much just in the nursing aspect of the military.
During war times, women could serve at basically any capacity in the military. But in 1948, President Harry S. Truman had an act that declared that women could serve in any capacity in the military. So you could be a nurse, but you could be other things too, admin, or you could work
Just
with
unique
logistics.
opportunities. There was
Right.
a lot of unique opportunities for them.
So, and in the 1970s, women were able to go to our military academies like West Point, Air Force. And then in the late 90s, they were able to be on naval ships and do combat. And in 2013, women were able to perform any opportunity that the Air Force has.
It's been an evolving process for a long time.
And right now, we have approximately 2,500 female veterans in Idle County.
It's interesting. And another thing that the Post has coming up on June the 6th, D-Day.
Yes.
Chuck Harris, did you want to talk about that for a minute, or do you want Diane to share information on that one?
Sure, talk about
She got that one? Yeah, I was saying, because that was another communication that's going on too. So if you hear shots fired in downtown Statesville on June the 6th at 6 p.m., which I've already made sure that Vice Chairman Conley is well aware of, it's because it's been happening close to the jail area. It is the 21-gun salute and taps.
Yes.
And in recognition of those who have lost their lives during the D-Day. And then tell us a little bit more about that one too. We talked about this at WAME on Monday or yesterday.
So again, like Chuck appointed me as the social director of the Post, which is kind of
I
up.
don't like it.
You didn't want to do that? So he gives you what he doesn't want to do, is that what it was?
Right,
Okay.
right. But this is kind of up my alley because I love doing stuff like this. So Thursday, we are going to be having a ceremony for D-Day. And D-Day happened 80 years ago on Thursday. And this was the largest amphibious assault that we've ever had in our world. And all the allied countries that was with us in World War II participated in this. During the first 24 hours, we had over 6,000 military either lose their life or was wounded. We also say that D-Day was the beginning of Hitler's losing his regime.
Yeah.
So D-Day is a very important day in our history.
Absolutely. Commissioner Stroud, I'm going to ask also if you have some words and some thoughts on this one,
Since he was there.
since he was.
You know, with both topics, you know, if you're a soldier, history repeats itself. And, you know, D-Day marked the beginning of the end for Hitler. Many, many men paid the ultimate sacrifice there. As Commissioner Brown just stated, the weather was horrific. Everything was planned and nothing went well. And, but I think it is awesome commemoration, and I'm very proud that you are doing that, Post 65 and all the other folks involved. It's a wonderful thing. I will tell you on the women's veterans, you know, through the years, it really changed. You know, used to be very differently identified. It was the Women's Army Corps, the WACs, the Waves. They were. I hate to use the word segregated, but it truly was. It was two different, basically, units. And through the years, it has progressed to the point to today, there are female infantrymen today. And that is a huge step. And I will tell you, not just in the medical field, in every field they serve, they are a soldier, and I use the term soldier generically, please, to recognize all, but a significant contribution to the American fighting force, even back in the days when females were not recognized properly. And I think this is an awesome thing that we're doing, and I appreciate each of your services.
So,
Commissioner Brown, I'll turn the floor over to you if you have some thoughts and words to share.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just a couple of comments about women veterans.
certainly. Will you step up to the microphone for those who are watching? We'll be able to hear you as well. Thanks, Chuck.
Just a couple of comments about women veterans. I served from Vietnam to Somalia. I saw the evolution of women in the military. And like we said earlier, it started out in the medical field, and there were tons of them. But there's people like me that's standing here before you because of those nurses. So if you fast forward, it was not any of their fault that they couldn't be a grunt. It was us saying, no, women can't do that. We don't want to see them get hurt. It was them that wanted to step up and do that. So we went from nurses to F-35 pilots. We've got Blue Angels that are flying that are female. And I can't remember what the exercise was. It could have been the Super Bowl. But that flyover of F-22s were piloted all by females. First time in history. So it is evolution, like Brad said, and it's a good one. Like I said, it wasn't their fault. It was our fault because we were trying to do that protective thing. But it certainly was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Would any of y'all like to share some thoughts or words?
Come on.
Come on, First Sergeant.
Come on.
we're proud of y'all because y'all gave up part of your early life to serve our country.
Share what branch, if you would, or how you ended up, what years you served?
I was in Army Reserves and National Guard. My husband got me in for our first wedding anniversary, and he got paid. And I was an MP unit for 13 years in Michigan. Then I went to a transportation unit, transferred in Grand Rapids, and then I transferred down here to transportation in Salisbury, and then I went to Desert Storm with them. And then from there I came back and I transferred to National Guard in Lenore, and that's where I retired from. I had over 22 years.
Wow. Well done. Thank you.
I was in the Navy during the Persian Gulf War. Both my parents served in Vietnam, and my grandfather was in the Army during World War II. So we have a long military.
Thank you.
I retired from the Air Force 3 years ago as National Guard, but on active duty orders for the bulk of my career. Started out in multimedia that merged to public affairs, and then the best part of my career was being a first sergeant for our security forces.
Excellent. We can't miss our chaplain down there, Harold. When did you serve?
I served from 1964 to 1968 in the United States Army. I took basic training at Fort Jackson on Tank Hill, and from there I went to Augusta, Georgia, and then from there went to Fort Meade, Maryland, and from there to Korea. Came back from Korea and went to Fort Bliss, Texas, and from Fort Bliss I went to Vietnam. I volunteered for it, and I was ETS when I came back to the States, so I was out of service. I thought about going back in, but I didn't. But I don't regret any of my time in service.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll turn back to Commissioner Brown if you have some words and comments.
Well, I do appreciate all of our veterans, all of our active members, our veterans, and, you know, as far as the women go, you know, I tell everybody all the time, you know, God made man, and he did a good job, but he had to make woman to get it right. And because every time you do things the second time, you get it right. So that's why women are so much more perfect than men.
I got one thing to say. I was the last of the Women's Army Corps.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We appreciate y'all. We really do. Thank you a lot.
For the history. Gentlemen, Commissioner Hought.
I just want to say thank you to all the veterans. I think it's a shame in our country we don't honor our veterans with the prestige that I think that they lay down their lives in some cases, and the dedication that all of you have shown, and stepping up, offering your life for a country that now I wish we could get, honor of our veterans and our flag behind me and all. It shouldn't be a political football. We ought to honor our country, honor our military, honor our veterans, because it's the right thing to do. And thank you all for your service.
It's service and sacrifice. Not only you standing here, but the people who just stood a little bit ago. We live in a world that's not so nice. We live in a world where other countries and other groups and factions would love to kill us. They would love to come in here and set off a nuclear bomb or set off some type of device and kill as many people as they can. And it's bad we live in a world like that, but that's the way it is, and we got to fight fire with fire. And we appreciate everything you've ever done.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people, even in this room, that has seen things that are really bad. Some stuff that nowadays the youth growing up, they couldn't even imagine. And it's sad our country now, not only are we worried about fighting a war away from here, but we've got people who try to fight a war out on our streets and our roads out here. People need to grow up. There's a lot of men and women who died for this country, that died for this flag, and will still die for this flag. And we need to honor those people, and people need to behave and act right and stay in their lane. Really, they do. But really, thank you very, very much for your sacrifice, your dedication. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Any more words from yours before I?
I would just like to thank y'all for serving our community, and I would like to thank them for serving our country.
Amen.
And also, I was a military wife, and that family is a big support.
It is. Those at home.
And I'm sure they all would sign up again and serve our country.
Absolutely. And it's my honor at this time to read the proclamation. And you have,
And before we go on to that one thing
Certainly.
real quick, just a little piece of Iredell County military history. Mr. Harris, correct me if I'm wrong, this is from my memory as the service officer. I believe you were at the first graduating class for basic training from Fort Dobbs, correct? Not quite that old? I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure you were at Fort Dobbs. So, Chuck, it's good to see y'all.
and our veteran service officer is standing right behind, I can't see him, Kyle, there you are. Their veteran service officer, which, of course, Brad is retired from that position of as well. So, and with no further ado, then I will be honored to have this opportunity to read the proclamation. Women Veterans Recognition Day. Whereas Women Veterans Recognition Day is observed on June 12th in the United States, a date chosen to mark the anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act. The date is not recognized nationally, but is recognized by a number of states, either through legislation or proclamation and organizations. And whereas women have served in the military since the founding of the Republic, from the story of Molly Pitcher, who has served with the Continental Army during the Revolution, to the women serving today, America's military women have long demonstrated courage, patriotism, and leadership. And whereas throughout history, women have been vital in defending our country, from when they disguised themselves as men during the Revolutionary War, to serving as nurses during the Civil War, to flying combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. However, it was not until the passage of Women's Armed Services Integration Act of 1948 that women were formally recognized as a permanent part of the military. And whereas Women's Veterans Recognition Day, we honor the service and sacrifices of women veterans. This day serves as a reminder that women have long fought for the right to serve and are an integral part of the United States military. And now, therefore, we, the Iredell County Board of Commissioners, do proclaim June 12th, 2024 as Women's Veterans Recognition Day. To all our women veterans, we thank you for your service, your sacrifice. We honor your bravery, your dedication, and your commitment to our nation and we pledge to ensure that your contributions are never forgotten. Adopted this 4th day of June 2024. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the proclamation.
I make a motion to approve the proclamation.
Motion by Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are proudly unanimous, and I would like to ask your group to please come forward as I present you with the official document. Just watch your step on the cord. Will join me right here. Pat, you want to come up too? Come on in. Look at that smile. You know you need to. There we go. We'll get it. I'm sure Mike Fern will be glad to share it with us at some point because they're going to miss a photo opportunity. Yeah, come on, Chuck. All right, I'm going to be presenting this to Post 65, and you can have, there we go. Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you. Thank y'all for all y'all do.
Thank y'all.
For us.
Thank your
Thank
family.
you for your service, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
And y'all are welcome to stay, or you are free to go as you wish. Not the rest of you, just the veterans in this front row. The rest of you have to stay. All right, Manager Moore, we will turn our attention back to our agenda. And moving along down there, we do not have any appointments before the board, but we will be going into our public hearing. So at that time, I imagine you would want to introduce Matthew Todd.
Absolutely. We do have 2 public hearings scheduled for this evening. The first one is a public hearing to hear a request from SS Handcrafted Art LLC to rezone approximately 2.53 acres along Statesville Highway. And Mr. Matthew Todd is here to make this presentation to the board.
Good evening.
Board. The request we have before us tonight is shown on the screen, outlined in blue. Currently, it's zoned general business conditional use district. Originally with countywide zoning in 1990, it was zoned neighborhood business. In 2007, it was rezoned to general business conditional use district. The request is to keep the general business designation but change the existing conditions. It was, in 2007, stipulated that it could only be a sign shop, and that never happened on the property. There were other conditions talking about cleaning up the property, getting rid of some of the buildings, and actually those conditions, they did happen. The site has been cleaned up since then, but just the business itself never opened. Staff is supporting this request for the following reasons. The 2045 Horizon Plan, it identifies this area as employment center, industrial flex office. It's in close proximity to existing commercial uses, and the new conditions would help to maintain safeguards for the surrounding landowners. Because this is a conditional request, there was a public input meeting held by the applicant, and 3 of the neighbors showed up, but there was no opposition expressed. Also at Planning Board, there was no opposition, and Planning Board voted unanimously to support this request. That's the land use plan showing the employment center surrounding this property. Aerial of the property. Looking at the current site. Looking north of the site, directly across the road, and south with the site being on our right. The applicant is here, and I would also be happy to answer any additional questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Well, if there are no questions, then I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. And there is no one signed up on this. I will ask the applicant, are you interested in speaking? Do you have anything you'd like to say? If you do, you'll have to come up to the microphone for us if you have anything you'd want to say. Are you good? Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Is anyone interested in speaking in this matter that is here and present? Seeing here none, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask if we have a motion for this.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the zoning map amendment and make the finding that said approval is consistent with the 2045 Horizon Plan and is also reasonable and in the public interest because the entirety of the site is within the 2045 Horizon Plan Employment Center Industrial Flex Office designation. It is in close proximity to various existing commercial and industrial uses, and the conditions of the request aim to maintain safeguards for the surrounding landowners.
Motion by Commissioner Halp. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are unanimous. Thank you, Matthew Todd.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to go, unless you'd like to stay for the rest as well. Okay.
Keep on waiting on her to ask me if I want to leave.
No, you're here to the end.
She won't do it.
No, I have to wait for you to do the motion at the end. So, all right, Manager Moll, back to you.
Absolutely. If it so pleases the board, we're going to go ahead and talk about item 8.5 under administrative matters.
Please.
That is the approval and adoption of the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance. Ms. Cheek is here. She's going to read that into the record. But what I'll do is just kind of go through and highlight the changes that we made that came out of our workshop. There were a few other changes that came in after the workshops, after the recommended budget, but before this evening. So if you'll remember, the budget was presented to the board on May the 7th, and then we had 3 full days of our budget workshop. From our budget workshops, there were some changes that were made to the manager's recommended budget, and that includes, and I'll kind of list those. There was the addition of a 2% retention pay that was added. We cut $50,000 to repaint the main library ceiling, added reclassifications for 2 deputy sheriff ace positions and 2 deputy sheriff positions, added $115,000 for the Iredell Statesville schools to run youth football athletics, added $13,500 to the finance department contracted services for software for additional UKG license, and those that's our timekeeping software to coincide with the positions that are recommended. Added $6,000 to the Iredell County Rescue Squad to credit for 3 technical rescue certifications that they have, which is surface water, swift water, and confined space. And then what we did with our balancing, we said, because it was a balanced budget that was presented, that we would just remove money from the capital projects. So there was a decrease, a cut in the capital improvement plan in the amount of $1,684,500, and that was to keep us in balance. The final was an increase in the secondary PSAP allocations that was in the emergency telephone fund, and that's based on the final funding distribution letter. Statesville asked for a reconsideration and they received it. That came in later. So the Statesville PSAP increased $55,129, and then Mooresville PSAP decreased to $55,398. So that gives you a quick summary of the changes that were made to the budget that was recommended, and then I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions before Ms. Cheek goes through the budget ordinance, which is a requirement.
Questions? Okay.
All right, I would like to present the proposed 24-25 Iredell County budget. The general fund proposed budget is $321,820,000 based on a tax rate of 50 per 100 valuation based on a valuation of $42,208,681,000 and a collection rate of 99.1%. This budget contains a school funding formula which shifts excess funds for capital to current expense. Our all-county fire protection service district proposed budget is $21,704,290
with a tax rate of 9 per 100 valuation based on a valuation of $24,066,731,000 and a collection rate of 99%. The Troutman Fire District proposed budget is $476,930 at a tax rate of 1 per 100 valuation based on a valuation of $4,792,215,000 and a collection rate of 97.5%. Investment earnings in the following funds are countywide fire tax, $2,000, East Alexander, $100, Mount Morn, $150, and Shepherd's, $500. We have a special revenue fund of ICATS, budget of $3,891,700. Special revenue of 911, $1,167,179. A special revenue opioid fund of $1,774,682. A special revenue Juvenile Crime Prevention Council of $445,170. Our Enterprise Solid Waste Fund of $16,155,290. Our Enterprise Specialty Services Division of $1,889,360. Health Insurance Fund of $15,523,000. Our Property and Liability Insurance Fund of $1,690,300. Our Workers' Compensation Fund of $895,000. And this budget ordinance also includes all of our fiduciary funds as required by GAAP. We also have special revenue fund Veterans Treatment Court, where we're making a transfer of $348,349 from professional services to contracted services. And our Facilities Improvement Fund, we are increasing that by $610,000. That completes the budget ordinance and project ordinances for this year.
All right. Any questions or comments at this time? Then in that case, I'm going to open the public hearing in regards to the budget for 2025, and no one has signed up. Is there anyone here to speak on the 2025 budget? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All right. I would entertain a motion for approval of the 2025 budget.
A couple comments I'd like to make before we do that.
Okay, now would be the time.
I just want to thank staff for the work during the budget process. Basically, the budget process takes, if this is approved tonight or by July 1, they'll start working on next year's pretty quickly after that. And this is a template in real time. You know, we live in a top 10 county in the state and a top 5 state in the country for economic development and economic growth. I appreciate the trust and support our taxpayers give us. We've had several reach out to Beth and us during this process with questions, and we welcome that. You know, my favorite saying is, before you judge our actions, ask us our options. People don't always understand all of our options. And the way that we budget and try to budget is we try to pay as we go, save and pay as we go. And so there's some earmarks and allocations and some projects that we've put on hold and things, waiting on mandated projects and things to get, you know, we've got a mandated school to build with a price tag that's a lot higher than what our citizens approved in 2020. But we've got to continue working together to provide the services from our 26 county departments, our 19 fire departments. While we increased our funding and investments in all of those areas, it is not enough in some cases to provide a level of services that I think our dedicated men and women in these emergency services would like to provide. but we're operating within a budget that we think we can invest, and we'll continue making those investments. And I wanted to say thank you to all of those volunteers and emergency services people throughout the county that provide those services, and our dedicated employees for the 26 county departments. But, you know, everything that we deal with in the county and the state and the country is you're spending taxpayer dollars. And I think we take that very seriously in what we do. And a lot of times when we have monies earmarked and established for projects and things, sometimes people don't know what we know yet until they ask, right? So there's sometimes some assumptions that, you know, we could have lowered the rate last year more than we did. We lowered the rate, you know, 4 cents to 50 cents and did all we could do and still meet our responsibilities and obligations. And I know we all take pride in that. We were hoping that we could consider reducing that more. But with the continued responsibilities and obligations that we have, we continue to work with our state and federal legislators to continue trying to get state and federal taxes back home for grant funding and things that they try to help us with. We just want to always continue to ask them if there's mandates and things that they send back down to the county and local level to make sure that they're covering the direct and indirect cost of those mandates. And I think our communications between us and them on behalf of the people continues to needs to be more often. Beth is communicating with them more often. You know, the NCACC that I serve on the state level, I represent 8 counties out of the state. And a lot of people that have a growing county have a lot of challenges. I'm going to call them challenges instead of problems, because I look at it like, you know, the investments that we're making in whether it be recreation or employees and emergency services and schools, you know, our schools train our workforce. And without the workforce, I don't think we would have the economic development and growth that we have and be a top 2 county in the state for economic development. So I just wanted us to thank the citizens for trusting us. When you have a budget and a whole lot of people aren't extremely happy about it, we probably did the best we could across the spectrum with what we had to work with. And it's just an honor to serve them, and I know y'all feel the same way. And they don't always understand all we know, but we can, with full faith, that they know we looked at every aspect of the budget and we've cut where we can cut without impacting the services that we're responsible for providing. And I wanted to thank all the people involved, the staff, for the work they did on it. So, you know, this job is a thankless job because you can't make all the people happy all the time. But I'm glad we do it, and I'm glad people trust us to do it. But that's all I've got. Thank you.
We are a growing county, $321 million worth. And something that concerns me, and I know I've been very vocal about it, and some of you have as well, is our growth, our residential growth. Just last night, between Mooresville and Statesville, they approved 522 units in just one night. They've got a couple pending here and there, I know Statesville does, of well over 1,500 units. That comes with schools, EMS, and the list goes on. It's going to be hard for us to maintain a 50-cent tax rate if we keep going all residential. And if all of our residential eats up all of our industry area, our commercial area, things of that nature, we're going to be in bad shape. So if you're listening out there, talk to Mooresville electeds, talk to Statesville electeds, and talk to the Troutman electeds. We've got to get a hold on this residential. Just because you can put it there don't mean you need to put it there. I've been very vocal about that. But we have to provide a lot of services, and just because we build a house out here don't mean it's going to pay for itself. If kids are in that school, kids are in that house and they got to go to school. We've got a high school that y'all know I've been very vocal about, and it's going to hurt when we have to pull the string on that. It's going to hurt bad. and there's elementaries behind it, there's a middle school behind it, and that's just on the ISS side. That's not even getting into the Mooresville graded school district side. People are tired of sitting in traffic. People are tired of this. So be vocal with Statesville, be vocal with Troutman, and be vocal with Mooresville if you don't like all this residential, and don't let off of them. I'm very serious. Today at the jail, we hit a milestone, 430 inmates in jail here in this county. 430. So that's all I've got. I just want people to understand that it's very hard to do our job up here that we have to do. And it's not just show up and open up your book. It's meetings, it's a lot of talking at night, weekends, holidays. It's a lot of just dealing with a lot of things you just would not imagine. And it's very, very difficult. So I appreciate the people's understanding. I appreciate everybody that lives in this county. I appreciate everybody on this board, the county staff, and everybody that has to put all this together. It's not easy. Very not easy. So that's all I've got.
I'll reiterate both Commissioner Halp and Commissioner Conley's comments. This time a year ago, we were being warned and cautioned with our tax rate. This housing market was going to collapse. It's not sustainable. Well, it continues to grow. And not just grow, it's tremendous growth. As Commissioner Conley said a second ago, a child in a house going to school, if that house is not worth $455,000, that house does not pay enough taxes to send one child to school. Think about that a second. $455,000 home, and if you have one child, every bit of the tax dollars paid, we pay to the school system for that child to go to school. That doesn't help with the Sheriff's Department, doesn't help with EMS, doesn't help with ECOM, doesn't help with any other place. I personalize, I think of my own family with 2 children in a home that's worth, nice home, that's worth $250,000. Other people have to, myself, I still have children in the school system. But there's folks never had children. Commissioner Conley's never had a child. And people say we shouldn't do the funding that way. Well, you tell me a better way that's dependable. You can't always depend on sales tax. Sales will fluctuate. We don't control the property values. People are moving here. People are moving here because we have a low tax rate. They're moving from places where they've been able to sell homes and make in our world that we live in, a small fortune, and come here and pay tremendous prices, overprices for homes. I personally have a friend that had a home. They jokingly listed it $750,000. Was hoping to get $450,000. It sold for $1.15. Lady showed up the very next day after it got listed for sale by owner. And the lady said, "I'm here to look at my house." Folks, that's what drives this market. We don't have any control over that. This growth brings these schools. The cities build, Commissioner Conley said, 500 plus houses. It's been vocally said by municipalities, schools are not our problem. It certainly is ours, because it's nearly 1/2 of our budget. And I will tell you, it's a struggle with the cost. So I have had, actually in the last couple of weeks, I've actually had more calls of encouragement from citizens than I have complaints. I think people actually kind of understand what we're up against to some degree. I will tell you, for me, and I said this earlier today with getting my hair cut. It sometimes is almost demoralizing that here we are, probably on one of the most significant nights of Iredell County, voting on its budget, a public comment period. No one signed up to speak, and 20 people in the audience, including staff. Either people understand or people are apathetic. And I will tell you, it is an honor to serve. I'm proud, one thing I'm very proud of this board is we have no developers, we have no realtors that sit on this board. And we're doing it for the good of the people, not for the good of our pockets. So, thank you very much. And the significance, Commissioner Conley, at 430, is that considered with having to do inmates, is that considered being at full capacity because of?
You got 500 beds, and if you're 80% of that 500, you're there.
So,
Yep.
we either have to do something with schools or we're gonna have to do something with more bed space for you.
I thank you for getting a haircut before you came tonight.
Thank you.
Looks good. But you know, the thing is we are the best. If we wasn't the best, people wouldn't be moving here. We're one of the greatest places in the United States to come and live, and people keep coming here. And I had a guy call me this week, and the public doesn't realize how many calls we get. I mean, I spent all day today on the phone, and I said, this is a day that I wasn't busy, but I spent all day on the phone. And I don't mind it. I chose to be a commissioner, but or the people chose me to serve them. But, you know, a guy called me, and he said, I want you to know I'm a little upset with you commissioners. And I said, why? And he said, well, you know, you're not stopping building. And I said, that's not our job. He said, well, y'all guys can do something. He gave me a whole list. Everybody's got things that they can do, and I listened to them, but, you know, we can't do but certain things. But he said, I moved to this area because it was a quaint little area. And I said, well, how long have you lived here? He said, I moved here a year ago. And I said, you understand, you just moved here, and you don't want anybody else to move here. He said, right. I said, that's I was born here. I didn't want you here. But, you know, that's the way it works. People move here, and we grow. It's going to be in the paper tomorrow, isn't it? But, you know, after having a long conversation with the gentleman, he finally realized what I was getting at, that, you know, we can't stop people moving here. If we lower our tax rate, and I fought hard to get it lower and lower, but if we'd lowered it anymore, we're just asking everybody from Mecklenburg County to leave Mecklenburg County and move up here and join us. We're trying to do as much as we can, and you know, to look at it, it's a double-edged sword. You lower the tax rate to help the people, and then you get all these new people moving in here. And you know, one guy told me, he said, well, you know, as much growth as we have, we should lower taxes because we're getting more taxes. But as you said about the schools, it doesn't help us. And when we have an apartment building go up in a municipality that holds 1,000 people, and you know, years ago, I used to own an apartment complex, and I probably had one kid in the whole apartment complex that held 1,000 people. Today, people move in an apartment complex and they got 2 kids, and they're not paying any taxes. And the apartment holder doesn't pay that much taxes. So we lose every time an apartment building goes up, and we lose if a house is not $455,000. But, you know, we are trying to do the best job we can. This board has, we took this budget serious, and I'm telling you, it was a grueling 3 days to have to sit with this bunch of guys and ladies. But we made it. We made it through it, and we didn't kill each other. But we made decisions that we made the right decisions. We didn't take it lightly. We studied hard, and we fought. There were several times we were getting on each other's nerves.
Why do you think Commissioner Brown's wearing a turtle shell?
But it is important, and we just, if people, like I said, there's not 20 people in this room. If the public, if the ones that call me would show up, this place would be full. And we need to get people to understand, come here and listen to us and find out more about it. So, because, you know, years ago, before I became a commissioner, I was just like those people. Why can't we lower taxes every year? Why can't, we got all these people moving in here, why can't we lower taxes? But we need industry, and we're doing good. I mean, we are getting some really, really good businesses coming into Iredell County, and I-77 40 corridor. we're gonna have a bunch of new business up there, and, you know, hopefully in a couple of years, when we level out, we don't wanna be stagnant, but, there's a county down in South Carolina I was talking to the other day, they haven't built a school in 30 years. 30 years not building a school, and my buddy's a commissioner there, and he said, you know, they only got 36,000 people living in the whole county, and one of the biggest land masses in South Carolina. But he said, just nobody wants to live there. Everybody wants to live here, and there's a reason they want to live here. We are the greatest. I mean, and we, you know, we've got so much to offer here, and we're working at it. Our guys that work for this county, and not us commissioners, we're not talking about us, because we, you know, we just make decisions, but these guys that bring us the budget, and they don't do this overnight, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks, they know what they're doing. So, you know, we just go and tweak it just a little bit. But we shouldn't probably even do that. They already bring it to us. It's in pretty good shape when you bring it to us. But we appreciate our staff too. Thank you.
One quick alibi. This board, this version of the Idle County Board of Commissioners, over a year ago, made a very bold statement and said, no more ETJ.
Yes, we did.
We did. That was that's the limit of our ability to control growth. And we can see what municipalities are doing. They're spot annexing. We cannot. We have zero power to stop that. I got a lot of phone calls on a lot of the different places. That doesn't even come before us, doesn't come through us. Nothing we can say, nothing we can do. And if the city of Statesville, Mooresville, Troutman choose to annex something, there's not a thing this board can do. And I will tell you that is not a wonderful feeling. And it leaves us on the hook, again, for the schools that's got to be built.
I think one important thing we got to remind people is what would slow the residential growth. You know, we've always talked about balanced growth, and because we want the industrial and business growth to outpace residential. But the only way you're going to slow down residential growth, in my opinion, is for us to be able to get some legislation for impact and developer fees.
Absolutely.
That in itself would slow residential growth down to some degree, and it would give you some revenue to help. May not slow it down a whole lot, but it would at least give some revenue to help with the infrastructure and the schools and things that needs to be done for traffic to flow and to you know, to make some of the people help with the investment of the growth instead of just come here, profit all they can profit, and in a lot of cases leave because they're not from here. You can't blame them. We've got to remedy the problem sooner than later of impact and developer fees.
Well, you know, you're right, and it could help with some stuff. But, you know, the problem we have, go back to it, is, and not everybody's as old as I am in here, but you remember, I mean, Charlotte used to be a little bitty city. And how many know that Charlotte's now the 12th largest city in the United States? How did that happen? How did Charlotte, right here next to us, get to be the 12th largest city? Now, there's a lot of big cities in the United States. And our airport is number 7 in the United States. We've got so much going on down there, and we got that big pond out here. And then that big pond didn't help nothing. So it brought so many people in here. But we have something that nobody else has got in the United States. I don't know how many people know that our lots on Lake Norman sell for more than any lake lots in the United States. We're the highest priced lake lots in the United States. This is crazy. Everybody wants to live here, so they don't care what it costs. They're going to buy it. So we're just doing the best we can do, and I appreciate the people that put me here to try to spend their money, because it is their money.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Manager Moore, you, as we've been going through the process, you've mentioned too the fact that balanced, as you put things in, you take things out and work with us, and you hear our input, hear our thoughts, and have our questions. Federal budget, not balanced, correct?
Supposed to be.
Right?
Federal and state, all of them are supposed to be.
We hold Iredell County to a high standard. We expect and appreciate the fact that it's balanced. And living within our means while accomplishing what is required, our mandates, our services. It's not easy. I've never done a balance beam, don't ever attempt to, but while balancing, you've always got to look ahead. Learn from the past, see where you are today, but we're planning 8 years, 4 years saving. It's never just about what do we need today, it's always about tomorrow. Each year I go through this process, now I learn a lot more each time. And I know that our employees are the heartbeat of this county. Without them, we can do nothing. What has been said, there's great comments from the board. I've never seen a board care so much that they lose sleep. Staff that stresses, people that we really do care, despite what people terminology that is used loosely. It's not accurate. We do care on that. And we work and we share our information and share thoughts. A lot of great comments tonight, and I will ask if there's any further comments or questions.
I just reiterate, I want to end on a positive note.
Sure.
We have an awful lot to be proud of.
Absolutely.
We have a top 5 county in the state out of 100 counties. And you're growing or you're dying. And there's a lot of places that would love to have our challenges. I'm not going to use the word problems, but challenges. But I just want to thank our people. We're a diversified county from north to south, east, and west. We have awesome people. The business and industry here are dedicated citizens that work hard and make investments. And I get it. They want to save as much as they can annually so they can have more disposable income. And we get it, and we take that serious, but we have an awful lot to be proud of.
We stayed here and lived here our whole lives and not gone anywhere else too.
We have an awful lot to be proud of.
Indeed. Anything further? All hearts free? Motion to approve fiscal year 2020-25. What year was that? 2025 budget. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve.
Motion by Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are unanimous, and the budget passes. And then we get down into our administrative matters. If you're here at the 4 o'clock hour, thank you, Deb. If you're here at the 4 o'clock hour, you get to hear a whole lot more of conversations, which will be summarized by Manager Mull here shortly. We are live and recorded, so if you ever want to go back and watch us, we are there on our link. So we do appreciate y'all being live and in person here this evening. Manager Mull, if you would like to summarize those administrative matters and talk about our consent agenda, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. The first item is a request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of a 5-year maintenance agreement for 49 in-car fleet cameras from Axion for a total amount of $527,265.72. A request from Human Resources for approval of the agency listing for wage comparisons for the upcoming pay and classification study. There were some amendments made to that list. We dropped Davie, Alexander, and Wilkes counties and added Pitt, Guilford, and Buncombe counties. A request from Tax Administration for approval of a renewal of the legal contract to provide tax foreclosure services for Iredell County. A request from the Finance Department for approval of a sole source exemption for bidding for Jennings Park security locking system. And this is with Sage Security, and this project cost was $63,182.59. We presented and looked at the county construction projects update. That was just for informational purposes only. There was a request from the clerk to the board for approval of the minutes from the meeting on May 7th of 2024. And the final item, which was the addition to the agenda, was approval of assignment and assumption agreement between Mooresville Hospital Management Associates, LLC, and Novant Health Lake Norman Medical Center, LLC. There was a motion that was read into the record, and it's contingent on the closing actually occurring and authorizing Chair Nieder to sign on the board's behalf.
For summarizing the administrative matters on the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We are unanimous on the consent agenda. That takes us on down. We don't have any announcements of vacancies occurring on boards, but we do have some appointments to boards and commissions. If you'll take a look at those, please.
Absolutely. We do have several appointments. The first one is Mitchell Community College Board of Trustees. We have one appointment, and Joe Troutman has volunteered to serve again, is currently on the board and has volunteered to serve again. Do you want to do these individually?
Yeah, let's do those individually, and then we can just hit Troutman's combined on that.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve Joe Troutman.
Thank you, Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're unanimous on Mitchell's.
The next one is Partners Behavioral Health Board of Directors. There's one appointment, and Vice Chair Conley has volunteered to serve a 3-year term.
Motion to
Thank you,
approve.
sir.
You better make a motion.
Motion to approve while he's willing.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Vice Chair Conley.
The next one is the Troutman Board of Adjustment, ETJ. There's one appointment. Lee Geiger has volunteered to serve again, and the Troutman Councilman has nominated him to serve.
Motion approved.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And then the final is Troutman Planning Board, one appointment. Mark Taylor has volunteered to serve again. However, we did have another individual that has volunteered to serve for the first time, which is Laura Cummings, and Troutman Town Council nominated Lauren Cummings for that appointment.
I make a motion, we appoint Lauren Cummins.
Thank you, Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous decisions on those. And we still have some opportunities for people to serve, but you're going to go over that during your update later?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any unfinished business? Nope, none of that. It is not a public comment, and we are to comments or updates and where you've been and what you've been doing this week. Commissioners, y'all been somewhere, attending things, doing things? Anybody?
I've been.
You made it back. Thank you, Halford, for joining us.
I just wanted to ask Beth, while Beth and I've talked with, as we have several of y'all, trying to keep up with legislation and/or what our municipalities within the county are doing. And I know, like Mooresville, I was going to ask Beth for an update if Statesville voted to proceed with their inspections. And I've had a couple of calls about that, but I wanted her to remind everyone all the services, if they decide to do that, goes along with that decision to take over inspections. Because I think when Mooresville did it, I'm not sure they remembered all the facets that went along with that. Can you update us on that?
From what I understand, and I believe, that the City of Statesville approved their budget yesterday, and it did include a plan to transition inspections for them to do that in-house and us no longer do that. The inspections and what I've communicated back to the City of Statesville, which is exactly what we communicated back to Mooresville as well, for them to do their own inspections, that would include permitting, inspections, and erosion control. Those three really go together. So it would be those three services that would transition from the county providing those services on behalf of the City of Statesville. It would transition to the City of Statesville doing that in-house within Statesville's corporate limits. Mooresville has transitioned, and they have, and the timeline for Statesville, for what I understand, is September of '25. So you don't see that reflected in this fiscal year budget, but it will be reflected in the next fiscal year budget because they anticipate starting that in September of '25. That's the tentative date that they have provided. Mooresville, they are doing their permitting inspections. They actually forgot about the erosion control piece, so they are in the process of gearing up. They had some transition in their development department, so they are in the process of gearing up to take over erosion control as well, because again, those three things go hand in hand. So they're in the process of trying to gear up. They said anywhere from 6 months to a year before those services would be transitioned to Mooresville.
I understand that, Mooresville's done what they've done in the erosion control. We're still doing that. Statesville's getting ready to do what they're getting ready to do. These people need to hurry up and go and do what they're going to do if they want to do this, because we're not going to continue to carry them. And I want to make that clear, and I hope I have support of the board. Because if you're going to step out of here, because it's hard for us to budget, it's hard for us to plan. And if they're going to take over these services and they're going to do this, they need to plan on taking those services and taking them over. We're not going to carry them through this process.
No, it's interesting too, because the services itself is not a revenue truly, you're paying for the service, but.
It used to be.
Right, years ago, yeah.
Years ago, it used to be a profit center, and legislation has changed in the fact that you really are supposed to charge whatever it costs you to provide that service and not make a profit off of it. So since we have gone through that transition and last year, maybe the year before, The board did change the fees on the Shell building, if you remember that. We came and the board changed the fees on that and decreased that dramatically. So, but everything else that we've done, we've pretty much left our fees consistent, but our cost is continuing to go up. So, it's balancing out as far as revenues that we're seeing there, and it's balancing out. But you can make a little bit of money that you can set aside for technology purchases, software purchases, things like that, but it's not a huge revenue generator that it once was in the past.
Well, I mean, we need to make it very clear. If everybody's in agreement with that, I think you need to call, you need to contact both of their managers and tell them point blank. If you're going to step over, because we do not have the time to sit here and plan out a budget for fiscal year 26, not knowing when or when they're going to do this. We don't have time to sit here and plan out a budget and work it all out, and then them say, well, we've not got enough people, we need you to do it for this X amount of time.
It's yours.
You want it, you're going to do it, you catch it, you clean it, and I think that's the message that needs to be sent if everybody's in agreement. So.
Yep.
I just had one more thing. Bert and I was talking the other day about, we wanted to thank all of our school systems and all the dedicated men and women that school just ended a year, and thank all of them for what they do for our training our workforce and the dedication that we have with teachers and administrators and the school systems. You know, people have a choice. There's a lot, like I said, the reason that we are a successful county, in my opinion, is we have great options for schools. We have a lot of, we have great schools. Are they perfect? No, but like I said, this is a great place to live, and what makes it one of the best places in the state and the country, like Scotty said, to live, is our people. So I just wanted us to thank all those people for another successful year and wish them a safe and happy summer. It'll be over before they know it, but the dedication for these people in today's environment, countrywide, of the disrespect and discourse that we see in a lot of cases for people that are on the front lines doing a job that's thankless in most cases, following policy and law that they don't make. And I want to remind people of that. You know, your teachers and administrators in those positions, like our staff, don't make policy and they don't make the law, but they get the brunt and the blame for it. But I wanted to say thank you for another successful year and wish them all a safe and happy summer.
And I'm going to piggyback onto that one too, was talking with Outer County Partnership for Young Children, talking about too the work that goes into preparing the kids to get ready from the 0 to the 5-year-olds, get ready to go into kindergarten and such. So there's also the EDC breakfast, talking about the balanced growth that we've referred to, and listening and hearing from representatives that a lot of times work and partner with the EDC with the growth and placement of our businesses, making sure that it goes into methodical, the process to decide where to place the businesses. And I believe, Scotty, you may have been at South Iredell High School's FFA dinner. I was at North Iredell High School's FFA, recognizing we've got a huge FFA program. And at the one up at North, Nancy Keith, and we also had Grant Shook and Ryan Shoemaker were there, and they were recognized and received plaques as Premier Partner Awards. So shout out to our cooperative extension on that one for all the time that they've dedicated to, for helping set up from our agricultural fair to everything that they do. You don't realize what a lot of times goes on behind events and the scenes, but boy, when you get there, a lot of hands on deck for that one. Also, you know, like I said, there's preschool graduations, high school graduations, and all those. So glad to be a part of this community. And with that, I'll pass it to my left with Commissioner Stroud.
So I honored to attend the graduation North Iredell High School. And I will say this, I was sitting beside someone and my granddaughter graduating and their grandchild graduating as well, and this person did not know who I was as a commissioner and said, gosh, isn't that a beautiful field and the track area?
There's a track in the field.
And I said, it absolutely is. Does it look like $3.7 million to you? And they're like, excuse me? And I said, yep. And I said, so, it's been a good couple weeks since our planning retreats, and you can tell by my arms, I have the farm. It's really not a farmer tan, but as I said, we don't have any developers or real estate, but we do have folks that still participate in the farming world, and I have enjoyed putting a bunch of hay in the barn in the last couple of weeks.
Yet.
And I'm not done yet. But, it's very suspicious to me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's awful suspicious to me that we have all these housing developments getting approved by municipalities, and all of a sudden they decide to get into their own inspections departments. Wonder what that's about. Is it to get those houses built faster? I wonder. To the folks that live in the city, that you're already paying for that service. It's already
Being done.
you're already paying for it as a county taxpayer. So I guess you can pay for it twice, being in the municipalities. So this board truly, as I said earlier, there's not a person here that's here for their pockets. They're here for the people. And this board takes great pride in trying to do the next right thing. I've joked several times, and one of my old bosses tonight reminded me of something. Didn't remind me of anything. They said something that reminded me, but this person used to live of every time I opened my mouth, they had to go, gosh, what's coming out? And I got a reminder of that tonight. But it's because what we want to do is to do what's right by the people, what's right by the citizens, what's right by the employees, what's just, what's fair. And, those things are very hard to align. Right, fair, and just I'll often tell you, there are three streets that very seldom ever cross. They very seldom ever meet. Right, fair, and just very seldom ever come together. And that's what the job of this board, for 5 people to sit here and figure out how to spend the least amount of money to do the most amount of good for the most amount of people, while ensuring dignity, respect, while trying to just be a neighbor, be a good neighbor. And it's a very difficult balancing act. I'm not a good juggler. But I will tell you, if you look at it, and I think each person on this board does it, in our own individual way, we personalize everything we do, and we look at it. And we look at how it affects our own families, how it affects our friends, our neighbors, and our constituents. And how do we do it and ensure that we're not breaking the law? Thank you, Lisa. And do it right, fair, and just, and try to get those 3 streets to meet. But they always seem to run parallel. I'm honored to sit here. People ask me all the time, well, do you like it? I won't say I like it or I love it, but I do not regret taking this step. And it is an honor, a privilege to carry this duty. And for those that think it is easier or there's a better way, I encourage you to step up to the plate and put your name in the hat. Put your hat in the ring. So, other than that, Commissioner Brown?
Well, I'm going to go back to what Melissa said. I did go to the South Iredell FFA, and, it was funny because there was a lot of people there, but there was one table that had a lot of school board guys there. And when it was all over with, they walked up to me and they said, is that your granddaughter? I said, no, that's my daughter.
Great granddaughter.
So they were really surprised. It was my daughter that graduated, and she was also vice chair of the
She's been
FFA.
very involved in
And
the
she
FFA.
won the county speaking. I don't know where she got that from, but she did win county speaker. She leaves for Raleigh, I think. They go Thursday this week to speak for the whole state of North Carolina. And she's excited about that. They're doing a preliminary thing tomorrow. I've got to go. She invited me to come and listen to all the kids in the morning. She said, and any other commissioners want to come, South Iowa, I'm not sure, I think it's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. But they've asked several, for us to come to hear what they're doing. These kids are great, to hear those kids.
Did you hear when they did the memorization, which each one was at their station?
Oh,
The length of memorization.
And it's raining out there. My hay just got wet, dang it. But
It works faster and harder.
But her and my daughter and the president, they're very tight. And they come up with this thing that it made us all just cry because it's, as they were giving up their seat, they took their coat off and hung it on the coat
The
rack.
FFA blue jacket on the back of the chair as they're
They put it on the
graduating.
coat rack.
On the coat rack?
Coat rack. They set a coat rack out there and they all put it on it, and then the new people come
So
up.
the next
They
set
picked up the
officers.
coats and
Oh, that's-
went on. But these kids, I don't remember it being like that. When I was in FFA, I graduated South Iowa in 1979. She graduated in 2024.
Legacy
So,
continues there.
44 years ago. It's crazy. But, going back to schools, we keep hearing, we got to build schools that'll last 50 years. South Iowa was built in 1967, same football field, probably same goalpost. Everything's pretty much the same. The track's the same, but it's lasted for 60 years. So we did something right in 1967, and I don't know what that school was. Bert, you should look that up. I bet you we built that school for probably $2 million back then. But it's just crazy. But I appreciate being part of our county. I really do. I appreciate sitting right here, and I appreciate the people that put me here. And I'm going to stay here for one more term, and then I'm going to retire and go to sit on the beach. But anyway, we appreciate you. Thank you.
I got one more thing.
Sure.
Just want to say thank you to all the farmers and for what they do, and this is National Dairy Month. So
There you go. Good
just
to know.
just a
Have
shout
some
out to all of our dairy farmers and all of our farmers.
Make sure it's a local dairy product.
That's right.
Try to find that one on there.
National Dairy Month, and we've got a lot of good ones in our county.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Number one. All right. Guess what, guys? We got one thing in new business. Can you believe it? All right. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to pull a fast one on y'all because none of you know what I'm getting ready to ask.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. How many of y'all have a pet? Even y'all, how many's got a pet? You got a pet? A pet. I know you've got pets. P-E-T.
pet.
A pet. Just humor me here. You have animals at your house that are a pet, right?
Yeah, I got way too many.
Okay. I'm sure y'all out there have got an animal or therapy dog or pet of some sort out in the community. Manage them all. And Lisa, you keep me on track here if this is something we can or can't do, all right? Creative thinking
I'm
here.
not going to jail with her.
So get your ears perked up, all right?
Listening.
This is an idea to spotlight our animal services, to bring an animal to our meetings, bring one of our, look at Gene.
We already
Just
have,
hear-
we already have Commissioner Help.
Hear me out on
Oh,
this.
he's an exotic. He's an exotic. I'm sorry.
We're going sideways here, but it's been a long one when we go sideways. But I think it would be an opportunity. Would you please reach out to Christian and see if there is an opportunity to where?
Oh, I thought we was bringing one of our pets. I was going to say,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
my giraffe won't fit in that elevator.
No, not one of those. One of the ones that's out at our animal services up for adoption. It's a whole new audience.
No, I agree with you.
Somehow, because I know you'll have them on WAME periodically, and they do a great job on our Facebook. But I will tell you, when we had the sheriffs and our canines that were retiring, there is nothing like the love of an animal. They're gonna love you no matter what you say, no matter what you do, and how your day was. And we've got animals out there that lights go on and they're there, the lights go off and they're still there. They need a family too. And if we can help get one dog, one cat, whatever's in there, or pig, whatever's in there to be adopted, let's do it. What can we do to spotlight during, I think that would even encourage, maybe bring our viewing numbers up higher if we have a creature on the dais here, up for adoption. So,
We can commit Commissioner Help up for adoption.
I think he's got a loving home at the house, surrounded by children and other dogs of his own. So if you would please follow up with Christian, if there's a way, any of these programs, I know he's working with PetSmart on some different adoption ideas, but board, if you're supportive,
Pet of the month.
Pet of the Month Club?
We got 2 meetings a month.
Adoption of the Month Club?
See, you're already working toward that. See, Stroud's already on board.
I still want to bring a giraffe.
Anybody else got any new business? Got your attention, didn't I? You don't have any pet allergies, right?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I don't want to get us in trouble for that one, but.
Dude, we must put a limitation because can't bring cats.
It's time to go home. It's time to go home.
I got 3 new baby tigers. I could bring them, but Carol
They're not
Basket.
at our animal
Carol
services.
Basket will be here.
All right, well, with that being said, I think it's time we can shine a spotlight on some of our furry friends. Amy, you got that in the notes, in the minutes? All right. Manager Mo, how about a county manager's report on what opportunities we have to serve from a volunteer basis?
And we've spoken before, but we still have some boards and committees that we have not received any applications on, so I thought I'd list those. Information regarding these can be found on our website, or you can call Ms. Anderson, and we encourage people to certainly fill out an application. We have the Home Community Care Block Grant is one, Region F Aging Advisory Committee, Statesville Board of Adjustment, ETJ representation, and Statesville Planning Board for the ETJ. All of those 4, we're looking for applicants that are willing to serve on those boards or committees.
Excellent. All right.
So,
Anything?
I do want to say one thing about budget. I'm going to take a brief liberty, but thank you for approving the budget. Thank you for spending the time that you spent to go through the detail of the budget. I know that was a lot, and I appreciate each one of you going through it with a fine-tooth comb and asking the questions that you asked, and making sure that you understand what you're approving. I want to say thank you to our budget team. Our budget team is incredible, and the hours that they spend is unheard of. And every time, bless Caroline, I'm looking at Caroline because every time I would go in and I would change something, and she would smile at me, and she would say, okay, knowing that she had already balanced and already done all of her charts and schedules, and she was going to have to redo everything. So thank you, Caroline, for your patience and not getting.
And the rest of the team.
Thank you.
I want to say one more thing. We are not a county that just takes last year's budget and adds to it. We don't do that. We take each budget on its merits and we look at what we actually need for that next year. And I'm gonna give you a great example. And if you don't realize that, look at what this current fiscal year budget is and look at what the one you just approved. It's less. It's several $millions less this year, this upcoming year than the current year. We budget for what we need. We don't just add more to it year after year after year. This budget, this upcoming year budget is actually less. And that speaks volumes about our department directors only asking for what they need. It speaks volumes for our budget team and making sure that we can prioritize the needs and make sure that we don't put things in there that we don't absolutely have to have. It speaks volumes to this board and the direction that you give, that you want us to be fiscally responsible. You want us to be a conservative county, but maximize the benefit and services that we can get out of every dollar that we receive in. It also speaks volumes to this board that you're a pay-go board.
The save.
You save your money, and then you do that capital project, you pay for it, and you're done. And it's off the books. It's not debt that carries year after year after year. So that's amazing, and I think that needs to be told. That's a story that people need to hear and they need to understand. You know, everybody talks about zero-based budgeting or, incremental budgeting and things of that nature. We don't do that. We look at every budget based on its merits, and if we don't need it, we don't carry it forward the next year. So thank you for that. That's all.
Anything forward? Anything further? I can't talk anymore. Anything further? All right, with that, I'm going to ask for, I'm sorry, we did have closed session with nothing to report out on that one, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
And Scotty out of the box there. All right, motion by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.